Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing another video from Grab the Lantern today. I know it's been a super quick turnaround as since Bel'Veth was revealed. It feels like just yesterday we just did this, but Nilah's abilities have been revealed, which means it's time for me to do the ability rundown, to talk through her kit, to give my first couple of impressions on this character, and talk a little bit more about her backstory and all the things that have been revealed with Nilah. Now, Nilah's kit has a couple of things that I'm a little worried about, a couple things I'm a little more worried about, but I think generally Riot have approached this design very smartly, and I think that there are a lot of things that they've done to potentially rein in some of her more degenerate interactions, shall we say. So let's go ahead and not waste any more time and talk through her abilities. Nilah's passive is Joy Unending. She amplifies the healing and shielding of nearby allies, and allies that heal or shield Nilah gain a bonus shield or heal for themselves, and if they heal or shield themselves while near Nilah, she gives herself a bonus heal or shield. Basically, if someone nearby heals or shields, Nilah is getting that. If someone nearby heals or shields Nilah, they're getting that, right? Essentially, that's what's going on. She also just acts as a global amp for healing and shielding effects, which means she theoretically has some utility with high healing comps, things like Aatrox and the like. However, that's not the part I'm concerned about. The part I'm concerned about is this last bit. If she last hits an enemy minion, she and her nearest allied champion gain the normal amount of shared experience, plus half of the experience that would have been lost due to sharing. This means that Nilah is a boosted XP champion. For those of you who are playing in Season 5 and remember the absolute dominance of Mordekaiser bot lane, you probably are very familiar with this ability, because that is the reason Mordekaiser was so busted, because of the fact that he could hit level 2 before any other champion in the game and just proceed to snowball the lane from there. It was extremely powerful there, and it's probably extremely powerful here. There are some things that I think rein this in, which I'll talk about in a bit, but suffice it to say, very powerful ability. Nilah's Q is Formless Blade, which has a passive and active component, as pretty much every champion Q does nowadays. Passively attacks and ability damage against champions ignore some of their armor and heal her for part of the damage dealt. This effect scales with crit chance and converts any excess healing into a shield. This is the same as well for the healing Nilah gets on her ultimate. She just converts that excess healing into a shield, so she never feels like she's wasting healing potential. This also means that as a skirmisher, she has target agnostic damage, but this target agnostic damage scales with crit chance, meaning that she has to actually buy crit to access it, which I think is very, very important for, again, reasons I'll discuss towards the end of the video. The active, she strikes in a line, damaging all enemies she hits, and if she hits an enemy, she briefly increases her attack range and attack speed, and empowers her basic attacks to splash in a cone and deal additional damage. Now, this is a very powerful ability. It is her only real damaging ability outside of her E, of course, so Nilah is going to be relying on this to last hit from a range, but it also means that Nilah then has the ability to sort of transcend the limitations of being a melee champion. Her range on PvE, I believe, is like 270 or something like that, like really, really short for a quote-unquote ranged champion, so she definitely is relying on this ability to give her some degree of reach, and the fact that she also gets AoE auto attacks is very powerful. It means that she has a decent amount of wave clear, and it also means that if enemy champions are stuck next to each other, that she can do a ton of cleaving damage as she auto attacks her way through a team fight. Very strong ability indeed. Nilah's W is Jubilant Veil, and I was totally right about this ability. So she shrouds herself to gain bonus movement speed, she takes reduced magic damage while the ability is active, and dodges all incoming basic attacks. If this sounds similar to Jax's E, it basically is, though it does lack the CC component and the reduced damage from all sources. Nilah only takes reduced damage from magic sources. If she touches an allied champion, she also gives them this effect, but they'll be protected for a shorter period of time. This, I think, is a very important ability on Nilah's kit. Obviously, enemy AD carries are known for auto-attacking, and Nilah has the ability to riposte hard-hitting auto-attacks if she sees the Draven Axe coming in, if she sees a Kraken Slayer coming in, or a Vayne Silverbolt proc, she can press this button to dodge it, and then potentially turn the tables because she can dash in. It's also a way for her to time this ability as hard-hitting magic damage spells are coming in, to just sort of ignore it, so even if an opponent's playing something like Ziggs bot lane, for example, she does still have an answer for what the Ziggs wants to do. There's also a little bit of utility here because she can give it to an ally. It's a decent ability, but it's very personally protective, and I don't see Nilah being able to use this necessarily to get out of every situation, so an interesting move for sure. Nilah's E is Slipstream. She can dash through a target unit. She travels a fixed distance every time and damages enemies she passes through, and gets up to 2 charges of this ability. If she casts her Q during this ability, she basically does a Samira. She damages enemies after a quick delay and gets the enhanced basic attack effect. Now, this is a really neat ability. Yasuo obviously has something similar, though at a much reduced range, and obviously Yasuo has a per-target cooldown unlike Nilah. Nilah only gets 2 charges, but this means that she can theoretically dash to the same target twice, right? She can dash dash to you, and then if you flash or dash away, she has another dash to follow you up, or she can dash to a minion and then dash to you. There are things she can do, but obviously she only ever gets 2 charges of this ability before she has to wait out its hefty cooldown. Of note, she can dash to a friend, so she does have the ability to have an ally standing behind her that she can dash to escape, or be able to dash over a wall to something like a blast cone, right? There are options for what Nilah can actually do with this ability, which I think makes it a very interesting ability for her to use, and certainly one that she needs as a melee champion in bot lane. She needs some kind of gap closer to actually do damage, and this is that gap closer. Nilah's R is Apotheosis, which is a really cool name for an ability that is kind of a weird one. So she damages enemies twice as she activates this ability, once on the activation and once on the pull, which after that second damage hit, she pulls enemies in towards the center. She gets healed for a portion of the damage dealt, and she also applies this healing to all nearby allies. This effect scales with critical chance as well. Now, this is an interesting one. I know Riot talked about this comboing with her E. She can dash in, pull a bunch of champions in with her, and then she can proc her AoE auto attacks now that everyone's grouped up on each other for just a tremendous amount of cleave damage. I think that's sort of Magical Christmas Land. I don't think Nilah is ever going to get that much, but she does have the ability of pulling in fleeing enemy champions to prevent them from running away from her. It does give her the ability to get more value out of her cleaving attacks, and obviously it's a big burst heal, so if she's getting dove or if she's just in the middle of a fight and needs more healing, she can press Apotheosis to have a big effect. It's also another one of her utility effects. She has a lot of small utility, but not a lot of really big, obvious utility abilities, so it's sort of interesting in that regard. What we end up with on Nilah's kit overall is a champion that has some things that I'm scared of. The biggest things for me is that I think that if Nilah plays and builds as Riot intend, as sort of an 80 carry supplement, right? You're going to be building, like, for example, Kraken Slayer into Fire Cannon, into Infinity Edge, right? Going the 100% critical strike chance route on Nilah. I think she's going to be totally fine, because that's going to push a lot of her damage towards the later stages of the game. It means she's going to have a very similar scaling path to other marksmen, so she's less likely to just be able to bully you at level 2, like a lot of other fighters in the bot lane do, like Pantheon, for example. And it also means that since a lot of her damage is auto attack based, I mean, she has 2 basic damaging abilities. That's it. W is not damaging at all, and E is mostly there for the mobility, not the damage, which means that Nilah's ability damage is very low, meaning she has to auto attack, meaning she has a lot of synergies with crit. Obviously, there's the crit synergy built in here for this Q passive, which allows her to ignore some armor. She really wants to be able to access that, so she will want to build critical strike for that effect at least, and for the healing on Apotheosis, right? There are things here that say, hey, Nilah, build critical strike, have a very strong late game, but a very weak early game. In the early game, you're just going to be here last hitting, but that's why you get access to powerful abilities like the constant healing that you get from your Q passive, like Jubilant Veil, and especially like all the mobility and options that she has, and especially the boosted XP, right? Those are things that she gets to have because of the fact that she's this late game scaling pick, and she's a melee champion in a lane typically dominated by ranged champions, and therefore needs something of an edge to combat that. If this is the case, then I think Nilah is totally fine. However, if Riot haven't calibrated this appropriately, and Nilah builds like a normal fighter, doing things like, let's say, Divine Sunderer into Death Stance, into Sterix Gauge, right, silly things like that, then that is where Nilah is going to be breaking bot lane in half, and that's where she's going to find herself out of a home in the game as a whole, and that's where we're going to be in problems with this champion design. I'm hesitantly optimistic that Riot have gotten it right on this first attempt, but I wasn't sure what to make of Zeri either, and Zeri has been up and down on the balance roller coaster for a while now, so who actually knows? Suffice it to say, I think she has some interesting designs here. I'm definitely way more happy with her kit than I am with Bel'Veth's kit, I can tell you that much. At this point in the Bel'Veth video, I was already getting ready to swear at Riot, but right now I think Nilah's kit is interesting. I'm not that excited about it, but I'm definitely looking forward to trying her out and seeing how she's supposed to play as a bot lane carry, assuming that Riot did their calibration correctly. Also, please Riot, this had better be a champion with mana, or we are going to have words. I just made a video about this. Moving on to talk about the flavor. Interestingly, there's not that much to talk about with Nilah as a character, but I think there's a lot of interesting things that her lore has sort of revealed to us. For example, Riot have basically come out and said, yeah, that theory you guys all had about Fiddlesticks being End of Men first of 10, yeah, that's a thing. There are 10 extremely phenomenal, extremely ancient evil demons that are on Runeterra, looking to get to Runeterra, but we're sealed away, or something. We're not quite sure what, but Nilah has one of the 10 with her. I believe the demon's name is Ashlesh, something like that. But this is a demon of joy, which is interesting, because formerly we only knew demons could prey on negative emotions, but Ashlesh preys on a positive emotion, in this case joy, sort of twisting it into things like obsession, which is kind of an interesting concept. But this demon is the demon that actually empowers Nilah. We're not quite sure exactly how it does that, but we do know one of the consequences is that Nilah can feel no emotion other than joy. She literally is always joyful. She can kind of dimly think that, hey, maybe I shouldn't be happy about this thing, but she doesn't have the option of actually feeling sad or frustrated or upset about it. All she can do is only ever twist it into joy, which is kind of an interesting catch for a character. The other interesting thing that a couple of tidbits is that Ashlesh is said to have tried to ascend the home of the gods to devour them and then was punished for its hubris and basically locked away. I do wonder if this is a reference to Celestial Targon, which is quote-unquote where the gods lie, right? So that could be an interesting caveat there. And Nilah, as we've already talked about before, is not from Valorant. She's from a eastern nation, which is actually south of Camavor, and the reason she's over here in what we know as Runeterra is because of Viego. Who else, right? It's been Riot's answer for every question we've asked over the last year and a half. What's the answer for this? Viego. But because Viego was resealed in Camavor, Nilah's basically come out to Valorant to be like, okay, what gives? Who put him here? And so she's looking around for the person who did that. So there are some interesting implications here for her story. I'm interested to see what Riot do with her, but as with a lot of characters Riot releases nowadays, we'll probably never hear from Nilah again, so we'll have to see. So either ways, that's going to be it for me today, guys. You'll have to let me know what you think of Nilah down in the comment section below. If you think she's likely to be a critical strike stacking AD carry sort of pseudo stand-in, or if she's likely to be a game-breaking menace. Let me know all that down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video today, go ahead and leave it a like. And if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload it every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And I'll talk to you all later.